Hi everyone, I'm Mira Raven and welcome to Magifest 5D. I am a multi-instrumentalist, a composer, producer, teacher, and a creative identity consultant. I am here to bring you to your highest timeline. So if you are looking for spiritual guidance and guidance on creativity, of understanding deeper levels of yourself, and your journey in general, you are in the right place, and I welcome you. So, I just want to let you guys know that right now I have two offerings, and I want to just kind of let you know about them now. And if you feel at any time during this video like you would like to work with me, those offerings will be available in the description box. So the first one is my Find Your Authentic Voice cohort. So I am preparing to do my very first cohort session. It's an 8-week session, and it is designed to really go deep and pretty much deprogram and reprogram yourself. And the programming is all about you reprogramming yourself, right? You understanding your North Star, your true north, and understanding your own true essence and being able to embody that. And really, that's what the cohort session is designed for. But you do it in a group, so then, you kind of have that element of not feeling like you're in it alone. And it's fun because everybody gets to appreciate each other's authentic spirit. So it's really great. It's a good time. There is a call each week, as well as accountability check-ins with yours truly each week, just to make sure that you're on task. And then there's also a workbook that you're given as well to give you a little homework so that you can dig deep and really get that soul work done. So that is my Find Your Authentic Voice cohort session. And I'm going to be rolling that out pretty soon. I'm just trying to get a good group of people together. I've got a few people who've signed up already. So if you would like to sign up, there's still time. I will put a link below for a discovery call, and I am still giving away some free spots because this is my very first cohort session. So I really want to sort of just get people's feedback this first time around. However, I put a lot of time and energy into it, and I do think that it'll be a really helpful experience. So definitely go ahead and get a discovery call with me if you feel moved or inspired at any time through this video. My other offering is Creative Identity Consulting, which is a one-on-one experience with me where we focus on really serving your creative needs, really helping you express yourself and to really find ways to connect with your creativity. So that could be through songwriting, composing, learning an instrument, any sort of creative musical practice. So we use music in almost a therapeutic way to really dig deeper and help you create a sense of meaning and value in your life. So I find that the creative identity consulting is really, really great for people who maybe are not really in touch with their creativity. Maybe if you're a high performer, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, someone who is dealing in a lot of corporate spaces, then this I think would be a really good offering for you. I always want to give people a disclaimer that I do live in Chicago, so there will be occasionally sirens in the background, dogs barking. These are things that, as distracting as they can be, I tend to just kind of talk through them because I like to have authenticity in my videos, and I don't want to do a video a million times because I'm waiting for the right audio conditions. So hopefully you appreciate authenticity like I do, and it hopefully is not too distracting to you. out of the way, let's get into it. So today's topic is all about triggers. And I find that in both lines of work that I just described that I do, that triggers actually can be very applicable. So for people who are trying to find their authentic voice, right? Why are triggers important in that situation when you're really trying to figure out who you are? Well, triggers are incredibly important because when we're triggered, we can act in a way that is actually not our true selves because we're being triggered. And what that does is it hijacks our system, right? And we start to react out of a place of fear, out of a place of trauma and scarcity, which is not who we are. We are not our traumas. You are not your trauma. You are not your trauma. You are not your triggers. And you are not your emotions. So sometimes if we've gone through a lot of trauma, we can start to associate our identity with that trauma. And the reality is, it's not us, right? And also that trauma and those triggers can almost become a prison for us because we get trapped in these repetitive, vicious cycles of projecting our traumas and our fears and insecurities onto the external world. And the external world mirrors that back to us. And then we confirm, what is it called? Confirmation bias, right? We see the world in a biased way. We see everyone's out to get us. And then the world shows us that, reflects that back to us. And then we say, well, see, I was right. Everybody's out to get me, right? And everybody is out to get you because you are projecting that onto your reality. I would love to do a video on projections, and I will do a video on projections exclusively, right? But today we're talking about triggers. So that's how triggers can come up in terms of, understanding and embodying your full authentic self. When it comes to the creative self, triggers can show up in a more it's more of a man versus man, right? Man versus self, I should say, man versus self conflict, where you are kind of fighting yourself internally, right? Because you may have certain triggers around music, around writing, around singing. I know as a vocal coach, I've worked with a lot of students who have a lot of triggers around performance, around performing, around, being perfect, around being right, all of those things, right? So these are also in a way can be a little bit more mild, but still kind of like a trauma response for a person where they react a certain way, right? But I also want to talk about triggers, not just in those situations, but just in general, because I find that triggers, again, can keep us from living our lives fully and completely. So let's talk about two aspects of triggers. Let's talk about when you yourself are triggered, and let's talk about when you trigger other people and how to deal with both of those. So when you are triggered, as I said before, your system is being hijacked. You're being emotionally hijacked. And because your body is just trying to take care of you and protect you, it will act from a place of scarcity and fear, and it will be extremely protective, and it might say or do things to be offensive towards the people around you or towards, the external world, to defend, right, the perceived threat. So when we are threatened by someone, that's really what a trigger is. It's basically a threat. You're threatened by your environment. And you either respond through fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? And so knowing how you respond to your triggers and knowing what those triggers are number one. First, know what your triggers are. Second, know how you respond to them. How do you do that? Pay attention. Simply pay attention. Look at your behaviors. Look at your thoughts. Look at your emotions. How do you respond when you're triggered? What do you say? What's the pattern? There's always going to be a pattern. What's the pattern? What are the conditions that are met that lead a lot of times to your triggers, right? So what that entails is you being more curious and being a little bit more analytical about your behaviors and about your environment and about your thoughts and about your feelings and tuning into your body. So another thing that can be helpful is mindfulness practice. Any kind of mindfulness practice. Yes, you can do meditation. Meditation is very helpful. But I find almost that just as much as meditation, mindfulness, just being aware of your body in real time, being present, little things, noticing body sensations, noticing feelings, noticing when your feelings shift, noticing when you no longer feel a certain way and now you feel a different way, and what led to that, right? And be a little detective about it. Be a little detective. Wait a minute, I'm feeling different now. Why? Why am I feeling that way? What led to that, right? And when people trigger you, instead of getting angry with them for triggering you, ask yourself, why am I being triggered right now? Why am I upset? What did they say? What is it about what they said that upset me? Instead of, because people tend to, when they're triggered, the first thing they want to do is blame somebody else. You made me feel blah, blah, blah. You made me blah, blah, blah. Instead of saying, well, okay, why did you make me feel that way? Why did I feel uncomfortable? What is it about? And sometimes it's about you, and sometimes it's about the other person. Sometimes you pick up on something from the other person. I know for me, I had an experience recently where I sat with this, where I was like, okay, this person, I can't put my finger on it, but I just feel uncomfortable around them. I don't know why, but they're making me feel uncomfortable. And I'm thinking, why are they making me feel uncomfortable? Because I'm thinking, okay, are they triggering me? Why are they making me feel uncomfortable? And it took me a while of observing, right? I didn't jump to conclusions. I took a while and I observed, and I said, And I thought to myself, well, and I listened to what they said, and I listened to how they acted, and I just observed. And it took me a while to realize that indeed that they were quite insecure. And so what I was picking up on was their insecurity, and the fact that they were very insecure and very uncomfortable and very nervous, and that was weird to me. It was uncomfortable to me. Even though I've dealt with insecure people, but there was maybe some jealousy, some envy going on too. So there was just something. And to this day, I haven't completely figured out exactly what it is, right? But I had to trust my instinct, and I had to just sort of cleanly make some boundaries with that person. And so when you're triggered, I think sometimes getting away from the trigger, the source of the trigger, so that you can kind of take a moment, like take a step away to ask questions about what's going on, can be very helpful. If you're at a point where you know what's going on, you're triggered and you're aware, and this is more advanced, right? I think at first you want to kind of maybe get yourself away from the source of the trigger and kind of pull away and kind of get yourself grounded first so that you don't react, but once you've kind of got better at that and better at sort of grounding yourself and kind of controlling and knowing your triggers, then you can kind of start to like play with it a little bit and be like, okay, I'm being triggered right now. And in the moment, you can kind of sit with it a little bit, sit with the discomfort, right? And see if you can kind of navigate around that. And that's how you kind of get to the point where your triggers don't trigger you anymore, because you're taking control in the moment. Now I want to talk about when you trigger somebody else. When you trigger somebody else, a lot of times we trigger people without even trying. We're not trying to trigger people a lot of times, but we end up saying something or doing something that becomes a trigger, and we can unknowingly trigger them. And that person might be upset with you. They might insult you. And then these are ways that you kind of would know that they're triggered, is if the person is a nice person most of the time, and then they just suddenly act mean to you for no reason. Usually there's a trigger. Usually there's something that you've triggered in them, and now they're being hostile towards you. And it doesn't mean that they should do that and that it's right. However, I find a lot of times if you can find compassion for that person and go, okay, they're triggered right now. Let me just see if I can kind of maintain a baseline of calm around this and not instigate it. Don't push it further. They're going to insult you, but don't stoop to their level. Try to take a deep breath and treat it almost like you treat your own trigger. Like, take a step back, breathe, realize this is not my problem. And recognize, what do I feel in my body? Am I upset right now? Or am I picking up that person's protection? Right? And so when you start to think about that, you will realize, oh, okay, I'm good. They're going through something, and I'm going to just be that rock and be supportive for them as much as I can. And if you can't do that, then maybe you do pull away and say, hey, you know what? I need to pull away because I'm feeling intense. And own it. Own your emotions. Say, listen, I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling intense. And I need to pull away right now. And then guess what? Even if it is their problem, they can deal with it. And you're not having to entangle yourself with them. So I hope that that's helpful. If you want me to go in more depth on these kinds of things, if you need more guidance on these kinds of things, again, I want to remind you, I have my Find Your Authentic Voice cohort, and I am offering some free spots. And this is a big deal. This is like a lot that you're getting for free, you know? So definitely take advantage of it, because it's definitely going to change your life. I can guarantee that. I'm a Scorpio. I'm transformative. I transform people's lives. It's just what I do. And then if you want to work with me one-on-one and you want to explore your creativity, maybe explore your creative blocks, maybe write some music, maybe learn an instrument. I'm a multi-instrumentalist, so I teach multiple instruments, so I can get you started on any of those. You can get a discovery call with me at the link below. So again, I hope that this definitely was helpful. If it was, let me know in the comments. You know, give me a little shout out in the comments, like this video, share it with a friend. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Keep manifesting, and I'll see you next time. Peace, everyone.